Hello, this is my review for The Simpsons Season 2, Season 3. Overall thoughts on the episodes that I've written down here that come to my head. My thoughts on the Simpsons. I've just finished watching Season 2 and Season 3. I'm going to give you my overall thoughts, my overall opinion on what I liked, what I didn't like, what episodes stood out to me. Let's get into it. There's an episode in Season 2 called Bart Gets an F, in which Martin is the class genius. There's a moment in which Bart ends up praying and he gets a blizzard. He ends up getting rewarded. He's praying for it and then he fails the test still, but he manages to just pass when he impresses the teacher, Mrs. I feel like I'm pronouncing her name wrong, Mrs. Quabapo. Sorry, I'm butchering it. Bart's teacher in primary school, or the American equivalent, of primary school. He passes after he displays a bit of knowledge. If I remember correctly, it was about George Washington, was it not? He shows some exemplary, I think the technical term that she uses was exemplary academic intuition or something along those lines. And he manages to just pass the test. And I thought that episode was all right. I thought that was a nice episode. I like that one in Season 2. What other one have we got? I can't even read my own writing here. Bloody hell, this is embarrassing. I think it says 2 cars every garage, 3 eyes on every fish. Embarrassing that I can't read my own writing here. Marge, that's the episode where Marge at the dinner with Mr. Burns, when Mr. Burns is running for mayor of the town and he loses. Marge brings out the 3-eyed fish for his dinner. And I thought that episode was that was an alright episode. I'm going to say that, just going to say a quick brief moment about it. That episode was alright. I thought it was a nice moment where Marge brings out, and you see like the public relations teams or the human resources team try and coach Lisa into like saying something positive about Mr. Burns, and then she gets this generic question, and then Marge ends up trying to like wanting to basically showcase her own little protest in a way, and I thought that was, it was nice. I enjoyed that episode. I would say that episode was more positive than negative. Next one I'm going to talk about is Dancing Homer, the one where Homer's the mascot but the crowd rejects him. I can remember he goes to a big town. That episode, he becomes the mascot for like his Springfield baseball team, I think, and then he gets sent up to another big team. That episode was all right. Then after that, I've written down here the dead pudding society, which is like Homer versus Ned, and then you've got Bart versus Todd Flanders in a golf, and then they have that bet where the one who is not victorious must wear his opponent's wife's dress, Sunday dress, to cut the grass. Neither one of them wins, so they both don't achieve victory, and then they both end up doing it. That episode was I enjoyed that episode. That was a nice one. And then we've got the Itchy and Scratchy and Marge episode. Maggie attacks Homer with the mallet. Itchy and Scratchy, there's that like Marge protest, and then Marge ends up quitting on it because like the protest around Mike. I always feel like I'm pronouncing this name wrong. Michelangelo. Sorry if I'm butchering the name there. She gets that. She quits that. She quits the protest after she like basically feels like once you censor a certain piece of art, you have to censor all the pieces of art. That's something that Marge doesn't agree with fundamentally. And then you've got what I've written here is, I'm going to talk about this episode in Season 2. Oh brother, where art thou? Grandpa Simpson tells Homer that he's got a brother. Herb Powell, played by Danny DeVito. Herb lets Homer make his own car, right? And then Homer car doesn't quite work out as well, and Herb becomes bankrupt. I liked that episode. You see him called Unky Herb. I like Danny DeVito. I thought that episode was nice. It was a nice warm moment where there's like a contrast between Herb and Homer of Herb's exceptionally rich materially, but Homer's quite well off in terms of he's got a family, he's doing well, he's got 3 kids, he's got a wife, he's got people around him that love him. Herb doesn't really have that, and I thought that was like a nice contrast. And then like Herb learns about Homer, but then Homer ends up, in a sense, unfortunately bankrupting him. That's something he causes, and that was that's something that I thought like it ends on a negative, but like they kind of get a nice warm. There's more moments throughout the episode, and I'll say that was something where I'm like, overall it was a positive. I'll say that episode had more positive than negative. And then there's an episode here where I'm going to talk about called Old Money. So, sorry, I've got a bit of a headache at the moment, but Old Money. Homer's dad wins 106. Grandpa Simpson wins 106,000 US dollars, and then he ends up building a big old folks home. And the whole town's trying to like impress him and give him their story about, you know, why he should give them his money. Oh, sorry, terrible headache. Too much light in here. They're all trying to give him a story about why Grandpa Simpson should give them Grandpa Simpson's money. What should be done in order so that they can get the 106,000, but they end up building it into an old folks home. Next episode I'm going to talk about is Brush with Greatness, which is where Marge paints Mr. Burns, and then Mr. Burns ends up saying something quite negative to Homer. Homer's on a diet, but then there's that big reveal at the end with a painting where she portrays Mr. Burns as a fragile man, and then he ends up liking it, and actually gets a mostly positive reception. That was a bold painting, and she doesn't hold back, and then Homer doesn't lose his job, if I remember correctly. And then I would say overall, I enjoyed that episode also. Then this is the other one, Lisa's substitute, Mr. Bergstrom, the cowboy hat guy. Bart tries to become class president against Martin. He doesn't win. Mr. Bergstrom leaves quite an impression on Lisa, but then he ends up leaving. I like that episode. That episode was more positive than negative. I'm going to talk next about the war on the Simpsons. This is another good one in season 2 when Homer is drunk at the party, and then Marge and Homer go to that marriage counselling camp, and Homer ends up catching the big fish. Grandpa Simpson's looking after Bart, Lisa and Maggie. The huge fish gets caught, but then Homer showcases how much he loves his wife, and he throws the fish back into the river. I thought that was a nice moment. That was quite a warm moment, I would say. And then Grandpa Simpson gets the last laugh when he reveals he can cry on command. I thought that was powerful. I would say it was smart. That's a better way. That's what I'm looking for. It was powerful what happened with Marge and Homer's marriage. Sorry. I'm going to talk about the Three Men. Last episode of season 2 I'm going to talk about is Three Men in a Comic Book. Bart, Milhouse and Martin, they buy that comic book, Radioactive Man, and then they end up accidentally destroying it, and it was sort of like a tense exchange between the three of them, and I kept feeling like when I was watching it, it was based on a film, but I was struggling to think of exactly what film or TV show did it take great inspiration from, and that they were all in charge of this one item, but they were all sort of nervous. They were all cynical towards each other, what the other person's intentions were, and they didn't quite trust each other. There was a lot of deceit going on, and I feel like it was a good episode overall. Again, I'm going to end that there for season 2. Talk briefly about season 3. Give me a second. I've written down here a few of the episodes that sticked out to me. Bart. No, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the season 3 episode that I'm going to talk about is Like Father, Like Clown. Krusty the Krab reveals he's Jewish. He doesn't have a great relationship with his dad, and Bart and Lisa try and persuade his dad, who's a rabbi, to accept his son, even though he chose to become a clown. And there's a pretty strong moment there with like Krusty and his dad. I feel like that was a nice. And Bart and the rabbi are constantly quipping over quotes from the Torah. They're bickering back and forth. I thought that episode gave greater depth into Krusty the Clown. We got a better understanding of Krusty. I feel like that was a nice episode. I feel like we learned a few extra things about Krusty. And I'm just going to say overall that was another positive episode. Then we of course get the episode with Lisa Pony where Homer takes on a second job at the Quickie Mart. Homer, I think he fails to show up. He shows up at the last minute for a recital for Lisa's. She's playing her saxophone. He didn't manage to get the equipment that was needed to fix the saxophone. Sorry, bad headache. And he shows up at the last minute. Lisa's not happy, and then he tries to win her back with a pony. But then he ends up realising he's got to pay a lot of money for the pony. He's got to take on the second job at the Quickie Mart, but then he exhausts himself, and Lisa forgives him, showcasing how much he loves her, how strong their relationship actually is, that he's trying to do all this just to impress her. He's getting like a few minutes sleep each night, and she realises that what he's trying to do there speaks volumes in and of itself, and that he's really sorry. And that was a good episode. I liked that one as well. Then we've got the next one, Flaming Moe's. There's like a disagreement, or not necessarily a disagreement, a bit of a falling out between Homer and Moe over the drink. The Flaming Moe. Moe becomes incredibly famous. I'm going to say something brief about that for this episode. That was another positive. I feel like that was another episode, once again, that I'm enjoying, season 3, Flaming Moe's. I like that episode. Homer alone. No, Homer at the bat. When Homer becomes... he joins the baseball team, he's got his own bat, and then he just manages to win at the end, if I remember correctly. Sorry, at the moment I've got a bit of a bad headache. I think I'm going to end it there. I might do actually a follow-up with this video where I talk more about season 3's episodes. Bit of a really bad headache there. This is my really brief overview of season 2 and season 3 for The Simpsons. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.